Welcome to the NPTE Final Frontier podcast, helping one student at a time. Visit NPTEFF.com to enroll today so you can pass tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us here on the NPTE Final Frontier podcast. My name is Emily, and today I will be reviewing a research-based question. So let's dive right into the question, warriors. A physical therapist is working for a home health company, and his mean annual income for the last 5 years is $100,000. Last year, the physical therapist's salary was 2 standard deviations more than the mean. What percentage of his salary falls above $100,000? Option A, 68%. Option B, 47.5%. Option C, 95%. Or option D, 4%. So before we dive into the correct answer choice, let's first review what a standard deviation is. A standard deviation is also commonly abbreviated as SD, measures the variability of the data. Now, the bigger the deviation, the more variable the score. In other terms, the standard deviation provides an indication of how far the individual responses to a question vary or deviate from the mean. SD, or standard deviation, tells the researcher how spread out those responses are. Now, when looking at a bell-shaped curve, we look at various levels of standard deviations and associate those numbers or values with certain percentages. So, approximately 68% of scores fall within -1 or +1 standard deviation. Approximately 95% of scores fall within -2 or +2 standard deviations. And approximately 99% of scores fall within -3 or +3 standard deviations. Now, let's review this question again. This question again looked at 2 standard deviations more than the mean. So what percentage of his salary falls above $100,000? Now, as we stated, when looking at 2 standard deviations on a bell curve, we can determine that approximately 95% of scores fall within the 2 standard deviations. However, it is important to note that this means that the 95% includes the standard deviation below and above the mean. So that 95% is a below and above the mean. Now, since this percentage accounts for above and below, this means that it needs to be divided in half when isolating one or the other. So for example, with this question, since it is asking about above the mean, we would only be looking at that component. So we would only be looking at the above component or the positive standard deviation. This means that we would want to divide that 95% in half, meaning that 47.5% would be the answer choice we are looking for, which is option B. So again, that means option B of 47.5% is the correct answer choice since we are looking for above the mean, 2 standard deviations above the mean. Now again, this can be very tricky, especially if you wanted to initially select option D of 95%, because based on your previous studies, you remember 95% of scores fall within that -2 or +2 standard deviation range. But again, remember, if it is only looking at above or below, that percentage needs to be divided in half. Now, if it was looking at both above and below, we would then account for that entire 95%. So again, option B of 47.5% is the correct answer choice for this question. I hope you found this question involving standard deviations helpful to help you succeed when you see research-based questions on your board's exam. Now, don't forget, warriors, you are powerful, you are strong, you are a final frontier warrior, and you will pass. Thank you very much for listening. For more information on the NPTE Final Frontier, please visit npteff.com. You can also check out all of our social media platforms, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Till next time, have a great day and a powerful tomorrow.